What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. We are back after a bit of a hiatus, but back and better than ever, as I like to say. Back with Mr. Ben Wheeler of Ben Wheeler Fitness on Instagram. Go ahead, unless you're operating a heavy motor vehicle, stop what you're doing and go follow him. But super excited to be back on the podcast with a guest that I've seen on Instagram for a while, but not had a lot of opportunities to chat one-on-one with. So super excited to get to know you, Ben. And yeah, man, just go ahead, start it off. Let the people know a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're located, what you do.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks. It's nice to talk face to face finally.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I am in Ontario, Canada. I train clients in person and online, and I operate out of a small city called Kingston. I've been a trainer for a little over 3 years now. I've worked with high school level athletes, but most of my clientele is Gen Pop. Yeah, I'm also still in school. I'm thinking probably ending up with a master's. We'll see how that goes, and if that goes well, I might try to get a PhD if I'm still up for more school.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, the academic setting, it's an awesome place to be at, and especially you're doing both. And I think that's a big key. That's something that I actually wish I would have done differently to get that experience and, be in that academic setting as well. That's big right there. So I love to hear it, and I can't wait to get into it. But yeah, super excited. I think this is the first Canadian guest. I might be incorrect on that, but I'm pretty sure first Canadian guest. So super cool to be nationwide now here on the podcast. Excited for that.
What state are you? What state are you out of again?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Ohio. That's where I was doing most of these podcasts, but then I moved to Indiana.
Okay, nice.
So yeah, still Midwest, pretty much the same shit. A lot of corn, couple cities, and good gym scene overall.
Nice, that's good.
Yeah, man. So fill the people in. What's your philosophy with your own training, and then with the training that you do with the clients that you work with?
So I think kind of like my overarching philosophy when it comes to health and fitness in general, training myself or anyone, is kind of like first and foremost being adaptable, because everyone's going to want to train differently and everyone's going to have different training goals. So since I'm working with a wide variety of demographics, I really try to adapt to the client. I have clients who want to train like a power lifter. I have clients who want to train like a bodybuilder. And yeah, I'm just at a point right now where I'm training people from a whole bunch of different avenues. It's great to niche down and kind of hone in on one, but my overall philosophy is adaptability, and really that there's not really too many wrong answers when it comes to health and fitness. Just doing training is good, right? So it doesn't matter what kind of training it is.
Right, man. I can't agree more with that statement. I specifically want to hit on a point that you made where, like you said, it's good to niche down over time, but I always would hear that advice when I was a younger trainer, like work on niching down. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do when you're just getting started, though. You got to pay the bills. You're looking to just expand your repertoire and work with more and more clients.
Yep.
And, it's a nice luxury to have that. And I feel like you hear that from a lot of trainers who have been established. But I think honestly, yeah, and like back in my first couple of years of training right out of college, worked with just about anybody and everybody at a really cool fitness center. It was like a hospital affiliated fitness center. So it had a little bit of every type of population, whether it be bodybuilders, power lifters, older people looking to stay healthy, soccer moms. So yeah, it's definitely good and a good time of life to be just taking in all that you can and learning. And then, as time goes on, when you get more high demand, of course you can niche down. Yeah. Do you see any particular, like if you were looking in the future and you had your pick right now, what niche would you want to evolve into?
Yeah, I definitely will niche down into strength and conditioning. I'm probably going to go down the avenue of training with athletes, whether that's through physiotherapy or just as an S&C coach. But I'm also kind of like, my original background is powerlifting. So yeah, I might try to gravitate towards that as well, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like you can always do both, right? Like,
For
maybe
sure.
the training athletes in
Yeah.
a, collegiate or even more advanced setting, maybe that's what the, 9 to 5 pays the bills is, and
Yeah.
then you get your own thing going where you're working with powerlifters because you love doing
Mhm.
that. I mean, like,
Yeah.
have you coached anyone in a powerlifting meet yet?
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, dude. It's one of the most fun things, like, seeing your athlete getting out there,
Mhm.
crush it, dealing with the it's not always gonna go their way, so dealing with that, bobbing and weaving, figuring out the
Mhm.
next attempts, coaching them through what they can do better in attempts. It's like, I feel so locked in when I'm doing that, and, yeah, dude, honestly, I couldn't recommend it enough. It's a really fun thing to do, so, yeah, you got
Yeah,
the
I've got a couple clients who are getting pretty strong, and I'm training them powerlifting style, and they
Mhm.
will probably within the next year I'll have one or two try to hit a meet. So yeah,
Nice, man.
I'm looking
Nice.
forward to it.
Dude, I love it, I love it. Yeah, well, I feel like that's a good little intro of, who
Mhm.
is Ben Wheeler. I wanna get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast and really, pick your brain on some things, try to
Sounds
help
good.
out the gen pop out there, try to help some aspiring coaches, give some ideas to, existing coaches and trainers as well. I think a good place to start for us, just because we connected on social media originally. You mentioned you saw the podcast through when I was posting with Shimmy. So shout out
Mhm.
to Shimmy for connecting the boys. We appreciate you, brother. And social media, it's such an interesting space right now. With
For
it's
sure.
always been interesting, but specifically right now, you
Mhm.
see things moving in a pretty good direction. But there's still a lot of bullshit out there. So tell me your thoughts. Like what's your approach to content, and do you have any advice to people that are heavily consuming fitness
Mhm.
content?
Yeah. So yeah, I can probably speak more towards how to parse through what the stuff that you want to take away and the stuff that might
Mhm.
not be helpful towards you, because all my clients are on social media. They're all seeing these videos every day, and like I swear probably every day I have someone ask me like, hey, I just saw this on Instagram, what do you think about it? And it's really hard to tell what is actually good and what isn't. And at the end of the day, I think the majority of influencers or educators on social media who are posting content probably have good intentions. Even people who may be spreading misinformation or something. At the end of the day, most people, if they're not, just trying to make as much money as possible by being um, uh, extremely out there, they probably just want people to genuinely do better, and they probably actually believe what they're saying. The issue can come when they believe what they're saying, but what they're saying might not be true or might be harmful even. Um, so at the end of the day, you have to take everything on social media with a grain of salt, and you can't really you can't take anyone's word for gospel. Like you can't even the people that we admire most on social media who are very well established and very well educated. Everyone is human, and everyone, slips up every once in a while. Not everyone's going to be right 100% of the time. So it's just try to find people who are educated or who have been in the field for a long time. A lot of people are held accountable on social media too. So you'll see, some people don't have a good track record. Some people are known for spreading misinformation. So try to cross reference when you're taking advice on social media. See if other people are saying it too, or if this person is kind of outlandish.
Right.
Because yeah. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
dude, I think you hit the nail on the head. My biggest take, and I've posted about this in the past, and told people, is just don't be dogmatic in your approach to your fitness goals. When did you start like really getting into lifting? Like, how old are you?
I'm 20 now, and I've
Mhm.
been lifting since I was 12.
Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm thinking it was like early on in your fitness career, you might have caught this
Mhm.
wave. Do you remember like the squat every day shit?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So like I was big on that, man. Like I went out, I lived in Columbus, Ohio, because I went to Ohio State. So then I
Mhm.
went out and trained at this gym at like 4 a.m. with this dude who was like big on the squat every day. It was
Mhm.
a dope time. Like honestly, great training environment and made some cool friendships through that. But like just so silly. And I was so dead set. I'm like hardcore, we're making gains. And then, you detach yourself from the kind of dogma that I understand why he kind of assumed that stance because like if you can niche yourself down to a point on social media where people see like, oh, that's the guy that squats every day. Let's follow him. It's cool. It's entertaining. It's not necessarily optimal for results though.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a way for him to come up. But when I actually stopped doing that, had a little bit of a better approach to my own training. I got way stronger in my big three. My lower back stopped hurting all the fucking time. And it was just a overall much better experience for me. So definitely can't like kind of what am I going for? I can't like
You don't want
emphasize that enough. Yeah, of what you were saying. Like, and even with your approach to training your clients, like there
Mhm.
really is no wrong way. I mean, obviously there's better ways, but like if you're doing something, you're
Mhm.
being yourself so much more than nothing. So
Exactly,
I
yeah.
like that take, man. And the older I get, the more I start to realize that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, first priority should just be showing up every day to training,
Mhm.
whether it's in a gym or, whether you're at home doing calisthenics or something. You just doing it consistently outweighs every other little detail.
Yeah,
Uh,
can't agree enough, man.
yeah. And on the topic of like squat every day and those kind of like trends come and go, and a lot of them aren't harmful at all. It's just whether or not they'll benefit you or potentially be harmful for you depends on your goals, right? If you love squatting, and you're not really trying to 100% prioritize getting as strong as possible or as big legs as possible, then
Mhm.
there's no problem with squatting every day. But you kind
Yeah.
of have to be honest with, and like for this guy who introduced it to you, like you kind of have to sit down and think about some things and what results they're actually giving you. Are they
Yeah.
getting you good at the technical aspects of squatting, or are they giving you enough time to recover so that you can get stronger or bigger, right?
Mhm. No, that's a great point, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, to kinda like emphasize what you said, I don't think, I followed it super closely for like 2, 3 years, did the whole summer at that gym, like never missed a day, bro.
Mhm,
No one really got hurt. Like,
mhm.
and people were lifting heavy. Like it
Yeah,
was triples, singles a lot of times a week. And I think his big thing, like you said, is like the desired result. He competed in powerlifting, but his thing was more so just like being your best fitness self, like
yeah.
showing up every day, doing something hard.
Mhm.
Obviously now we know you can still do that and get better results towards your specific goal, but
Yeah,
like you said, the consistency is kind of what trumps everything there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, also on social media, like, I think humans in general, like, we are really good at emotionally attaching ourselves to different kind of camps, right? Like, um,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of different methodologies out there. I see you're always wearing the full ROM shirt. There's, Team Full ROM.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. There's absurd ones too, like Liver Kings, whatever they're called, and like
Yeah.
there's all these methodologies, and it's really easy to emotionally attach yourself to one of them and think, okay, this methodology is better than all the other ones. It's the only right way. But really, like some of them might be like top tier for certain goals. Like full ROM, Team Full ROM is amazing for hypertrophy, but it's not for other things. And a lot of the time, I see people like I see comment sections where people criticize certain lifts because they're not like optimal for hypertrophy or they're not a good strength movement, but they're talking to a bodybuilder or they're talking to a power lifter and they're
Mhm.
criticizing them for a training goal that they don't have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just understanding that. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think just understanding at the end of the day that different people have different goals and there's
Mhm.
not too many wrong answers. Uh,
Yeah.
just being honest with yourself about your goals and what's good for you is what we need to do.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the times that the people that you see popping off in comment sections, it's just like take a step back, consider, your goals aren't everyone's goals. That's a big thing there.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to get your input on. Do you follow Dr. Mike?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So have you seen the like what is it called? Technique Cyborg that
Yep.
he'll post up? Dude,
Yeah.
have you ever checked those comments?
I've checked them and I've also do you know Eric Bugenhagen?
I don't.
He's an ex WWE wrestler. He's
Mhm,
insanely strong. He's been in the kind of fitness scene for like for a long time,
mhm.
like over a decade. Um, he makes a lot of lately. He's been talking a lot about that, and there's other people too. Um, who talk a lot, who criticize the technique cyborg stuff a lot, and that's probably what you see in the comment section. I don't see the comment section too much because I don't follow tech. I might. I'm not sure if I do, but I don't read the comments. But I can assume it's a lot of criticism from
Yeah.
what I've seen. Yeah.
It's interesting, man. I'm interested in your take on it. Like, I might just pull one up real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically, what I see is a lot of people are fucking roasting these guys that get posted up in the comment section.
Hmm.
Let's see here, and sometimes I do see it, and I'm like, man, like
Hmm.
it's a good set, but the weight is light, and there's pros and cons to that. I'm gonna go ahead and share this tab. See if I'm technically inept enough to do this here.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot actually. I do have a take for that, so
Mhm.
I'll be interested to see what you think about my opinion there.
Yeah, hold up. I'm almost there. I think I'm almost there. I'm still getting used to StreamYard. I've done like 2 podcasts. Nope, nope. Hold up. It
Well,
doesn't like
you're at 80 podcasts more than I've done, so
it. Right. Hey, dude, I feel like just the way you converse, you would crush a podcast, bro. See that right now?
yep, I
There
got
we
that.
Yeah, so okay, let me go back to that tab and just like scroll through some of the comments, right? So like, oh, there's your dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See, and they're probably telling him to respond because a lot of people his videos where he criticizes full ROM, well not full ROM, but specifically Technique Cyborg, they do really well those videos.
Yeah,
Um
what's the take? I'm interested.
so his take or my take?
Yeah, give me both.
I'll give you both. Yeah. So for his take, it's um there's diminishing returns when you focus on form so much. Uh,
Mhm.
and he's basically his take in a nutshell from what I've seen and what I've understood about it is that, and I think this is probably the same take a lot of these people have in the comment section. It's that we're hyper fixating so much on form that you're missing out on actual benefits. And if you just put on more weight and kind of didn't hyper fixate so much, that would outweigh the perfect form.
Yeah.
So I think that is the take of a lot of the people criticizing. Um, my take is that there again, I like probably you can tell from what I've said so far. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I'm a really big advocate, uh, not for strength training, but for hypertrophy training or just general fitness. I'm a really big advocate for using as little weight as possible for maximum stimulus.
Mhm.
So if you can, if so, for example, this gentleman in the video here, if his goal is to grow his lateral delts as much as possible, doing this upright row variation with less weight, with perfect form, probably getting an insane buildup of metabolites, a lot of tension on the muscle. Why not do that with this weight versus double the weight, which will just maybe give you the same benefit, maybe less benefit, but for so much more tax on the nervous
Yeah.
system, on the joints and connective tissues. It's just like we call that kind of lifting ego lifting for a reason. It's because you're kind of prioritizing the weight over the stimulus.
Mhm. Definitely.
Hmm.
One second. I wanted to put myself on do not disturb so we don't have any more text messages coming through. There
Sure.
we go. Yeah, man. I like that take. Funny like anecdote on this for me. I mean, for a yeah, dude, for being 20, like that's a super mature take. I like what I'm hearing there. Um, when I was 20, what was I doing? I was actually doing that squat every day shit. I loved the idea of PRs and strength. So like I would chase some numbers, but of course, like the goal wasn't necessarily always hypertrophy, like
Mhm,
much, much less hypertrophy based back
mhm,
then. Um, and I 100% agree with like basically everything that Ben just said. The term for it, stimulus to fatigue ratio for hypertrophy training. Um, my anecdote being today, I saw this. We got this new like Atlantis hack squat at the gym. Have you ever seen that machine?
I believe so. Yeah.
Dude, it's fucking baller. You Canadians, brother, let me tell you what, y'all are up to something good up there.
Yeah, Atlantis
Um,
makes a lot of good stuff.
yeah, it was like I've used it one time and I can say probably the best hack squat I've ever used.
That's
Super smooth, like just the adjustments are perfect. I felt like no hip pain whatsoever, which sometimes gets me. I saw this guy loaded 4 plates on the machine this morning and he did 3 reps and then he just hopped off, walked away and said, fuck it. Like
yeah.
literally saw him say, fuck.
Why? Like, was it just too like heavier than he expected, or what? What do
Yeah,
you think?
exactly. And
Wow.
and I'm like, man, like I did sets of 12 to 15 with
Hmm.
185, like a plate and a 25 aside.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like super heavy. Had a couple reps in reserve, but fucking hit. And
Yeah.
and my thought is just like, man, like, what does the weight matter on something like a hack squat? Like, sure, if I'm like back squatting, trying to like flex for some power lifters, yeah, I might stack on some plates.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, like to me, the goal of a hack squat is quad hypertrophy. So like,
Yeah.
why are we
Yeah.
to the point where we're saying fuck? Like that was so heavy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a funny one that happened today. I'll get this poor guy off the screen so he doesn't feel any more scrutinized than he does.
No,
Um,
he has pretty good delts, like, and
yeah,
that's amazing form. That like I wouldn't criticize that at all. That looks like a great bodybuilding movement.
right. The only thing I would potentially criticize here, and we're gonna have to watch this. My
Mm.
apologies to our boy once again. We're gonna have to watch this through again because it is a long set.
Sure.
Am I there we go. I was frozen on my end.
Mm.
The thing that I see that I'm not a huge fan of with this series is like, yeah, form is dialed, but to me, I don't think all the time people are hitting 3 reps in reserve. Um, that's a big gripe that me
Mhm.
and the girl that I train with, very close friend, Alyssa, have. Like, she made the technique cyborg once. Like, she'll push intensity. She
Mhm.
still got roasted. Like to me, yeah. Like what RIR do you think that set ended at right there?
Oh, I just missed the end of it. Probably I agree with you. Probably was not close to failure.
Yeah. To me,
But
it
I
looked like 4, maybe 3 to 5, really.
yeah, I'd have to watch the last rep again. How many reps is he doing there?
Dude, I don't know. He definitely went around like 15-ish, I wanna say, 10 to 15.
Yeah. He's wearing straps too there, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. I like mm, I feel like the majority of people are gonna have strong enough grip strength to do even the exercise the way he's doing,
Right.
uh, without straps. But yep.
So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely trying hard, but
Mhm. Yeah, I saw that last rep there. It looked like at least 3 or 4
yeah,
RI.
okay. So it wasn't as bad as I said, but
Yeah.
yeah, I get that's the biggest gripe
Yeah.
um, with this particular
Yeah. But
series.
at the end of the day, why are you criticizing someone for leaving 5 in the tank? He might have a good reason for that.
True, true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I
the
mean,
I think Technique Cyborg is just showing, like, extraordinary technique from the standards that they have. I don't I don't think it's necessarily like, it could be a warm-up set for all we know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which yeah, I definitely hear where you're coming from, but, like, if we're gonna highlight, like to me, I wanna highlight, like,
Yeah.
training that's gonna yield results for hypertrophy.
Yeah. You're right.
I definitely see where you're coming from, though.
Yeah.
So, good point.
Yep.
Tell
I
me
think
tell me
I agree
oh,
with
go
you on
ahead.
that.
Yeah,
What was
go
that?
ahead.
No, I just said I agree with you on that one.
Okay.
Were you gonna say something else?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, dude. Tell me a little bit more about one of the talking points that we discussed earlier. So, like, movement optimization
Mm,
for a variety of goals. Like, what does that look like? What are the
mm,
differences between modalities? Tell me your thoughts on that.
mhm. Movement optimization. So, I wrote, movement optimism. I
Optimism. Okay, I
yeah,
misread you.
I could think of
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it now.
optimization. I wonder.
No, no, go
I
with
haven't thought
floating
about that
wedge,
much,
dude.
but I could talk about both. Movement optimism
Mhm,
is kind of, I think it's kind of more recently becoming another one of those camps that people
mhm,
are associating themselves with. And it's one that I find myself kind of leaning towards more. I don't call myself like I don't associate myself with any one particular camp because I think that you should take ideas from everything. I think all exercise is a tool that we can use, and why not, have the biggest toolbox possible. So
mhm,
I don't like to only zone in on one, but movement optimism is a newer camp that I think is kind of gaining some traction lately.
mhm.
Have you heard of that concept before?
I don't think I have, man. Yeah, especially with me mispronouncing the fuck out of it. Yeah, dude. Tell me more.
It might, yeah, it's not that well known of, I don't think yet, and it's probably more so in the S&C realm than
Mm,
the hypertrophy, realm.
mhm,
In movement optimism, the kind of philosophy behind it, from what I understand, is that, um, there's not really too many wrong movements, and a lot of what happens in the fitness industry so far is certain exercises are kind of um, there's a lot of fear mongering around certain exercises,
mhm,
and movement optimism is just kind of showing you that, um, or it's a philosophy that calls all movement good,
mhm,
just load management is important.
mhm,
So if your knees cave in during a squat, is that really bad? It's the use of critical thinking, and kind of evaluation breakdown of exercises to see, is this actually bad, or have we just been told it's bad and we just
mhm.
ran with that idea without actually questioning it?
Yeah, yeah, dude. I like where we're going with this. Okay, this is new for me. So definitely so like a specific example that comes to mind, especially with knee valgus, like you mentioned. I want to say there was like a French powerlifter girl. She's probably in her 20s, super
Mhm.
strong girl, like squats a fuck ton. She has some of the
Super narrow stance.
yeah, yeah. Do
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about?
No, not particularly, but a lot of the French powerlifters, especially a lot of the French women powerlifters, squat with a super narrow stance.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. But see, like the knee valgus, I'm like, whew, that's not what you see every day. However, I don't think she's ever gotten hurt from everything I've seen. And unfortunately, I can't remember her name or I just pull her up on Instagram. But
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So along those lines, like, how do you think we interpret that? Like, should we strive to, have a more like stacked joint movement pattern?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts there? Does it matter? Does
Mhm.
it should we work toward that?
I think, yeah, that's a good question. I think it's case dependent.
Mhm,
It also depends on the goals, like we've been talking about for like the whole podcast here so
mhm,
far. Um, if your goals are hypertrophy, and say you're doing a bench press, you want to hit an angle where you get a really good stretch and contraction of the chest. You don't
mhm,
want you don't want to have kind of a misalignment of joints or whatnot that will take that away from you getting that best possible range for the chest when you're trying to, work it on a bench press.
mhm,
But for things like that squatting with knee valgus, um, or what's another one? A little bit of a rounded upper back in a deadlift.
mhm,
I don't think those are bad at all. I think it's all about load management. If it hurts, or if it doesn't, like, if you're too weak to be in that position, lower the weight if you're going to be in that position, or get into a stronger position. But
yeah,
you can get really strong, um, in those positions. And actually, a lot of the time with squatting, we're stronger when our knees cave in. That's why it happens.
mhm,
It's not so much like a lot of what we've been taught and told is that the knees caving in is just a weak glute med, right? A weak
right,
glute med. But we're moving straight up and straight down, right? When the knees cave in, it could mean that we're not in the ideal stance for our kind of like bone structure, but it could also just mean that our knees are going into a position where they have more leverage to move the weight more
yeah,
efficiently. And Yeah. Well, like from what I seen and what I understand, knee valgus can be a symptom of something wrong with your knees, but it's not a cause, or there's not really evidence to show that it's a cause uh,
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
Hmm.
Especially, especially like this example because, like, everyone's hip anatomy is so slightly different. Like,
Hmm.
it's just one of those things where obviously, yeah, like, if you get hurt, you gotta make a change in some
Hmm.
regard or work on strengthening the, secondary musculature, but, it's one of those things where and hopefully, I think we've seen some improvements on this. People used to just jump on people for, like, rounded backs or knee valgus. I don't see that quite as much, but it's always gonna be there regardless. You still even see people saying knees over toes is bad, so it's
Hmm.
always gonna take some time to catch up on these things for the fitness
Oh yeah,
industry.
for sure.
Yeah, dude. I feel like we've hit on, like, parsing through information on social media pretty well. Do you have any, like, parting little tidbits of knowledge for the people before we, fully move on there?
For social media, let's see.
Or just in general too.
Yeah, I put a couple bullet points on social media here.
Mhm,
Yeah, so I wrote, followers do not indicate quality of information. Um,
mhm.
so I guess that just kind of goes hand in hand with the don't take anyone's word as gospel. Um, like just because someone has a lot of followers, like you're seeing a lot of people who are pretty well known to be questionable authority figures, with millions of followers.
Mhm.
And I see a lot of really, really good creators with like a couple thousand, right?
Yeah.
You seem like a pretty good creator yourself, and you have, I think, like a thousand, between 1,000 and 2,000, right?
Right, right.
Like, there's a lot of people who put out really good stuff and aren't as well known, and there's a lot of people who put out misinformation or even potentially harmful information that have millions of followers. So
Mhm.
it's, don't look at the number and treat that as like the ultimate authority as to whether someone knows what they're talking about or not.
Yeah, dude, it's so interesting, and I've, to kinda close this one out, in the past, I'm thinking like, "Fuck, man, like, why didn't I just get, like, a marketing or a business degree?" At the end of the day, I wouldn't change how it all went down, but
Mm,
it really is just, like, the individual's ability to market themselves. That's really what's gonna grow you on social media, and to follow up with that, that's why I've kinda, like, all of 2021 to 2020, like, halfway through 2023, I was trying to grind out content, like, good informational content every day. Such a time suck, and you just don't get rewarded for that content, like, Instagram, TikTok, they don't like they like shock value content or, sexy content. Sex sells more
yeah,
so
yeah.
than actual positive information, and that's why I'm just kinda like, "Man, like, I'd rather focus on other mediums like YouTube or the podcast," which I
Hmm.
haven't been doing as much, but still that's the goal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, dude, do you have any additional thoughts, any closing
Yeah.
things on that?
Yeah, just to summarize that, like, flashy and outlandish sells. That's what people want to see. They wanna see
Mhm.
quick fixes, they wanna see, kinda like extravagant or the best of the best, the best of the best exercise, best of the best method for any one thing, but really there's a lot of different answers, and you know, just add tools to your toolbox rather than, you know, picking one methodology and sticking with it forever and kinda emotionally attaching yourself to it as well.
Right, right, definitely, dude, and,
Yep.
like, I'm on Shimmy's page right now, which I'll share this page just because he deserves the shout out there. Give me one
Yeah,
sec.
like, everything like, there's a lot of people who, like, I like 90% of their content or 95% of their content, and there's, like, one little thing I disagree with sometimes with Shimmy. I've never seen a bad post.
I know, right? Dude,
Never,
it is nuts. Like,
anything
yeah,
but, super good.
I agree, man. Yeah, he is, let's see if this is showing up right. Yep. Definitely, like, super unbiased and kind of, like,
Mm,
just an even keel take here.
mhm,
However, I will say, like, as good of content as I see him make, like,
mhm,
great post,
mm,
funny, informative, he's fucking jacked, like, form is on point, right? when we did our podcast in like 2022, I think that was after he kind of caught this hype train from being on RP. He gained
Mhm.
like he got up to like 9,000 followers. Dude's been grinding his dick off for the past 2 years, let's say.
Yeah.
And like, look at this growth. Like, still impressive. Like, hell yeah, I fucking love that for
Yeah, it's
Shinny.
really good. He deserves way more than that, though.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
so
saying, man. And it's
the
like,
quality what he puts out.
a little discouraging, but I do really respect those people that continue the grind. And yeah, like
The
I
way
think
the way I think about that is, like, if you're putting out good stuff, you might not have the most followers, but you probably have followers who are kinda coming from the same kinda headspace as you. So you might have followers who actually take what you're giving them and apply it better than, the masses, right?
right. No, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
The dude, we could go on for days and
Yeah,
days.
we could. We can move
Yeah.
on from social media if you're good for that.
Yeah, man. We gotta have a part two and get into it. Get your social media game up, man, because I can already tell you got a lot of good knowledge on this stuff. Yeah,
I
man. So go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I like to criticize social media, but I hate to use it, and,
Yeah.
I've tried posting. I'm really not the only reason I have social media is pretty much for business.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I really wouldn't have it if I wasn't in this industry.
That's I mean, honestly, man, I wish I had that outlook because I spend way too much time on the shit. It's a huge time suck. So
Spend a lot of time on it too.
yeah, no, that's a good that's a good outlook to have on it. Definitely want to get into like your specific personal training, man. Kind of like showing what you got for the people out there that might be in your area that are listening, and just delving in. We can swap stories, give your advice to clients, all that jazz. So tell me, when did you start training? How's your stances evolved, and we'll get into it.
Mhm. I think my first client was February 2021,
Hmm.
I believe. So that was during COVID. I
Right
started
after
yeah,
COVID, bro. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think I was still in lockdown during that time.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it like Zoom or what were you
Yeah, it
doing?
was Zoom. It was Zoom.
Mhm.
So I had a handful of clients, not too many. I think I probably didn't have more than 4 at a time, until I moved to Kingston, and this is back when I used to live with my parents. I was literally a teenager when I
Mhm.
started,
Yeah.
coaching people,
So you were
which
like 17, yeah.
yeah, I was 17 when I started coaching people, which,
Nice, dude.
it's like, I like to think that I started studying and I started trying to learn as much as I can about this entire industry, pretty early.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I've definitely seen myself improve a lot. Like every year that I've been training, I've been seeing consistent kind of growth in terms of education and all that.
Yeah.
Were you kind of wondering about my kind of tactics when it comes to training clients?
Yeah, dude, yeah, let's get into it. Like, what's on your mind? What's your approach? What are those things?
Yeah. So um, it I always have a consultation with the client. It probably takes between 20 minutes to 45. Like I probably have one or two that went to an hour, but most of the time it takes around 30 minutes. But a consultation just where I ask them, I give them a kind of a pre-made survey, and then I might ask them some more individualized questions as well based on the answers that they gave me.
Mhm.
Obviously, get all the paperwork out of the way, all the liability stuff and health forms and all that. But
Yeah.
I try to understand the client first, and then I shape their training around them, and I kind of adapt it to them as I go with them. So, um, it's also good to change things up, but we just follow um, blocks of training. Um, Most clients will have hypertrophy and strength. Um, some clients will have additional blocks depending on their goals. But yeah, just classical periodization, and I don't know. We could probably dive more into cues, and maybe ethics and other stuff like that too, if you want. But yeah, do you have what do you think?
Yeah, dude, I think, fuck the ethic, fuck the ethics. Let's make some money, baby. We're pumping clients and dumping them. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so in terms of like, this is an interesting one for me because if I were to go back, I would do this better, I think. But I'm interested in your take and your stance.
Mhm.
So to me, a lot of times, like I would kind of get like feedback that clients were like, "Oh, like we did this last week. Like, is there anything like I see this machine, I really want to give it a shot. Like,
Yep.
and of course I was in a, like think of like a lifetime pretty much. It's like that. Like
Mhm.
fucking unlimited machines. You see people doing all this wild shit that really don't know what they're doing, but it looks cool. And
Mhm.
one thing I probably would have done better is just sticking to a real periodized scheme so that they
Mhm.
can learn the shit for when they go out on their own, be
Yep.
competent, and not always have to rely, and of course, get better results. So, do
Yep.
you structure your training, excuse me, where there's a little bit of a variety from session to session, week to week, or what does that look like? What's your take?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question before I answer that. Just to so are you familiar with the term macrocycle, mesocycle, microcycle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you structure in that kind of format?
Yeah,
Okay.
for well, let me say I do like to have, or like if I were to train someone, I would have a rough structure, but I probably wouldn't do a macro cycle
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I feel like so
Mhm.
many things can change for Gen Pop whose main they just want to get fit. They're not really like, to me, a mesocycle is more designed for like an athlete or a competitor who has a long-term goal. You want to structure mesocycles for what's the term? Um, when it benefits the next
Yeah,
thing,
peaking.
peaking and potentiation of
Yeah,
from block to
potentiation.
block. So if I were to do this for like Gen Pop, I wouldn't necessarily think of it
Mhm.
in the terms of like a macro cycle, because
Yeah,
like who knows if they're even going to stick with you for that long. Like
for sure.
I got, and it's like you put in all this work
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then they dump you after like 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yep.
So that's kind of my take. I
Yep.
know there's probably a better way to do that, but I'm more so like a mesocycle
Mhm.
based with like a
Mhm.
structure.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
yeah, yeah. How about you?
Yeah, so um, again, evaluate the goals and all that, and sometimes I might just take it one mesocycle at a time because we don't know what they're gonna wanna do in 2 months, right?
Mhm.
Um, but sometimes, especially for clients who've been with me a little longer, I might program, um, farther ahead, but a lot of the time, what I do with a macro cycle is I plan out the mesos, not in terms of exercise selection and every little detail, but I plan out the mesos in terms of goals.
Mhm.
So I might, plan to do a strength, or plan to do hypertrophy, then plan to do a strength, and then plan to do another strength or whatever the need is. Um,
Mhm.
but I won't fill it out and I won't actually write the program until we get to the next meso, or I won't
Yeah.
write the meso till I get to the next meso. Um, that's probably the main approach I take with things. Um, and then just talking about like mesocycle length, I feel like there's an ideal length for every individual for a mesocycle, and then there's also an ideal length for their personality.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly,
well, and
exactly.
to answer your question about how much variety do I include, I I don't change things up too much during a meso. But sometimes I might do only a 4-week meso. If I'm
Yeah.
training a younger athlete with a super short attention span, who, if I do the same thing with him for more than a month, he's just gonna like lose it. He's gonna go insane because he's so, he wants to do new things.
Yeah.
I'm
He's
gonna
like,
do
"I
like
saw this on social media. Come on, man."
yeah, like you can't change things every session because then he's not gonna get good at anything, or they're not gonna
Mhm.
get good. They're not gonna get good at anything. But you can scale it up to 8 weeks or however
Yeah.
long they need if they're a little bit more kinda, like, happy with sticking the same thing for a longer time, or you could pull back on it. Yeah, it's just depending on their personality and all that.
It's a
That's
good point there, man. Yeah, if I were to go back, I would probably do that a little bit more, especially if you can kinda sell it to them that like, "Hey,
Mhm,
this is a strength block, like, we're gonna
mhm,
get strong as fuck this block." Yeah, it's
mhm,
gonna be a pretty, not repetitive, but a pretty consistent repertoire of exercises that we're going to build on, build your strength, and then we can use that strength for the next goal.
yep,
Almost like structuring it in that, it makes your
yeah,
life easier. It
yeah,
definitely probably ensures better results from them.
mm,
And that's how I would do it. So if any young coaches are out there, I would think about attention span,
mm,
personality, and then just the way you can kind of phrase things to a client's important as well.
yeah. Building off that 3rd point, how you phrase things, also just educating your client, like, you're gonna rest when you're doing strength training, right? What like, give
Mhm,
them valuable information while they're resting. Tell them
mhm.
why you're doing the things they do, and you might be more likely to have them buy in to
Yeah.
your methods, and their adherence will be better. Um, but yeah, I have an analogy when it comes to exercise selection. I tell it to all my clients. I've never put it online, and I don't think anyone else has thought of it. At least I haven't heard it anywhere else. I need to put it on the record before someone else thinks of it. But
Trademark,
what's that? Yeah.
trademark it.
Yeah, I need to trademark it. But, I've never heard it anywhere else, but the way I think about every exercise, and I tell this to all my clients to kinda help them understand why we stick with things for a certain amount of time, is that every exercise is like an apple tree. Every variation of an exercise really is like an apple tree, and the longer we stick with it, the more we can pick the apples and get and reap the rewards. The apples are the rewards from that lift. Eventually, we're going to run out of apples. We need to take a break, go to another tree that's fresh, full of new apples. Let the one that we just picked from, let it grow the apples back. We're picking apples from another tree now, and we can go back to that tree once the apples have grown back. So we don't want to just pick one apple and go to the next, because that would be inefficient. We wouldn't be reaping as many rewards as we could if we just stayed there for a little bit before moving on.
Yeah,
So
dude.
that's how I kind of help clients visualize it.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck, man, you got me wanting like a crisp Granny Smith, maybe a gala type
Yeah,
deal. Oh,
exactly.
I might have to go to the store after this. I actually need to go to the store after this, so I'll probably get some apples. It's a
Nice.
good analogy, man. I like the
Yeah,
way you phrase that. Little
thanks.
analogies like that go a long way with clients. They're like, "Oh, okay, I can relate."
Yeah, it's just and different clients are going to need different cues. They're going to need different types of explanations. So, the more things you can kind of have in the back of your head to give people, the more likely you'll be able to get them to understand certain concepts or, you know, buy into certain concepts.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And excuse me as I shift positions here. Leg day is hitting right now, and I need to move my leg.
Ramp
Um,
it
a little bit. I'm like, ooh, it's starting to set in a little bit. How do you feel about, or like with your current structure and
up.
demand, how do you feel about the sales side of training? Because I'll tell you what, I fucking sucked at it. Like coming straight out of school, didn't really have much sales experience, wasn't
Yep.
super confident. Now I could sell the fuck out of training, but back when I was like 22, it wasn't
Mhm.
my strong suit. How's
Mhm.
that area of the field for you?
So I think I told you probably I don't know if I told you before we were recording or not, but I train at like 5 different gyms right now, like five
Man, you
different
mobile.
and then also I do online. So mm, I'll say first I have zero marketing abilities or experience. So my approach is more so be available at so many different places and offer so many different options that I just happen to fill up my roster because
Yeah,
I'm kind of, like it's like using a machine gun instead of a rifle, right? Like
right, right.
you're gonna hit something eventually if you
Spray and pray, baby. Spray and
yeah,
pray.
spray and pray. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's my approach. I have no marketing.
Bro,
Uh,
Justin Trudeau's about to come for your shit. He's like, "Machine gun? Canada?"
yeah. Uh
I'm just playing. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's a great way to do it though. Like, how'd you get those connections with so many gyms that you've made over the years?
oh. I applied. So as soon as I moved to this town, I moved to this town for university. I'll be going into my 4th year in this particular town.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, I originally came here for school, and you know, I got some scholarships, but I needed to pay through school. I didn't want to take on too much debt, so I wanted to get a job, and I had been doing online training, so I wanted to get my foot in the door for in person. So I literally applied to every single gym in this town.
mhm.
Uh, Only heard back from like 2 or 3 of them. I got offered like a couple jobs, and I went with one, and that's how I started at a public gym at the YMCA.
Mhm.
And then later, I was also working as a bartender part time, and that's how I connected with the owner of a private gym and started training out of there.
Nice,
Um,
dude.
yeah,
What kind of spot were you bartending at?
I worked at 2 bars at the same time. One was, I don't know if you guys have it, but we call them the Royal Canadian Legions. We have like a whole bunch of different legions around
Mhm.
Canada, and it's basically like a military or like a vet bar.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so it's just like pouring some wines,
yeah.
some beers. Didn't really have to mix any drinks except for like oh what was the popular one? I don't know. There wasn't too
Old-fashioned or some
many.
shit.
Yeah, there wasn't too many. It wasn't tough at all. Like I'm not
Yeah.
a bartender. I just
Dude,
yeah, pour
I
drinks.
I just gotta say, the fucking Royal Canadian Legion, it sounds so much more prestigious than the American Legion. Because 'cause I'll tell you what, brother, there are some fucking appreciate your service to all these gentlemen, but, like, dude, there's some motherfuckers in those bars, bro, and the beer is cheap. It's like
Yeah.
$2 a can. It's
Yeah,
such a the
not here.
American
It is
Legion
it
is
is it
wild.
is cheaper than some bars, yeah.
Yeah, 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 that's cool, though. Nice, dude. Nice. Um, so you basically just, like, try to put yourself out there as much as possible, leverage the, existing connections that you had, and
Yep.
found yourself running all the way around that fucking town, huh?
Yep. It'll probably be that way. I'll be here for another year before I go, um, probably, to Europe, but,
Nice.
it'll be like that for another year before I
Yeah,
dial
dude.
at one
Wha
location, yeah.
what's your allure to Europe? Where are you gonna be?
I'm gonna finish off my bachelor degree, for applied strength and conditioning.
Nice, dude. Where are you
Yep.
gonna be?
Ireland. Yeah.
Oh, shit. You gonna be
Yep.
working
So
with some, rugby players and shit?
we'll see. I'm playing my first season of rugby ever now. That's a whole other topic, but
Yeah.
I've tried a whole lot of different sports because I'm kind of going towards the avenue of training athletes. So I kind
Mhm.
of want to understand the sports that I'm getting them ready for. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Dude, that'll be fun. Rugby, I've never actually played full contact rugby. I only played flag rugby, but, like, full contact rugby, they're fucking getting it, man. That'll be interesting. That's
it's a
exciting.
lot of fun. I think I've been doing it for about 2 months now. It's the first time I've ever done it in my life, and it's tough joining it when it's tough joining it when you're not a kid. But
Oh,
it's
yeah, man. Like, the rugby tackle form, like,
mm,
just the technique, I'm sure, as well as, like, the grit that you gotta have. There's
mm.
some things to be learned there, I bet. But,
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
that's
for sure, for sure.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've provided a lot of value, bro. I'm just, gonna have a little fun for these last couple minutes
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, for
Go
sure,
some, yeah, go some rapid fire questions, exchange,
sure,
successes and horror stories within the industry.
sure.
Um, yeah, dude, real quick, we'll make them quick here. Like, what's an experience with training that you are super proud of? Whether it's helping a client
Mhm.
make progress or whatever it might be.
It's a good question. I can't think of the one I was most proud of. I'd have to take a while to think about it, but, like, probably just my in general, I think do you want a specific experience or just, like,
Yeah,
could I give
general
you
fine too.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I think in general, I haven't been in the industry for, very long. I've only been training people for a little over 3 years. I and not to pat myself on the back, but I think that I've been able to keep a pretty open mind, uh,
Mhm.
and kinda soak in as much information as I can for 3 years straight. That's something when it comes to entering any profession. I think that there's time in the game. There's also quality of that time that you have in the game. So if you're and there's no wrong or right option, but I think just I've been bombarded with and I've been on purpose learning as much as possible, taking as much as possible that this 3 years might look more like a decade for someone
Yeah,
who might be going at a
yeah,
slower rate.
definitely.
So I think just being able to adapt and learn as quickly as I have is probably what I'm most proud of.
Nice, dude. Yeah, and I can definitely see that. Like, you're wise for your years, man. Definitely, you're ahead of probably anyone that I've spoken to that's, in the well, not many 20-year-olds are actually fucking training, really. Like, there's
Yeah,
like the
not
college trainers, but they all suck.
yeah,
So
yeah, they do.
that's
I know them.
awesome. That's awesome.
What about you? What's yours?
Yeah, yeah. So I think, like, obviously seeing a client lose weight, super cool. Like seeing someone crush a meet awesome. But one that I'm super proud of was, and I'm gonna send this to him because we still text back and forth. In 2019, I started working with a client named John, and John is my boy. He's my dude. When we first started, and John, he has what's called sensory deprivation disorder. So, essentially, very, very like emotionally intelligent and just the sweetest guy ever. But certain things he's not a fan of, and that kind of affects his socialization and just kind of like outlook on things in general.
Yep.
Love you, John. Just stating the situation there. And when we first started, like he was so opposed to going to the gym, he didn't even look at me. Like he was watching a YouTube video. Dude loves Mario Kart. You'll find him playing or watching Mario Kart about 18 hours of the day.
Wow.
But I was able to kind of leverage his love for Mario Kart and other things that I was able to glean from him. Like we would be on the bike. I would like set up a YouTube video like he was on Rainbow Road. I'd be doing the sound effects. I'd be like, bro, you got to speed up. Peach is coming for you. She's got a red shell. And he would be grinding on that bike, man. Or like we get him on the Stairmaster, get him doing some, all kinds of different strength movements.
That's
and
great.
Man, like he made some great weight loss progress. Or the way we celebrated for every 10 pounds he lost, we would go to Dave and Buster's because they have this like. Do you have Dave and Buster's in Canada?
I don't even know. I've been small town my entire life. In the real world.
Right, dude. It's like a big arcade place, pretty much with like food, and
okay,
they have the Mario Kart game where you're like sitting in the chair. Yeah. So they got that, John, and man, it would be just hype whenever we go celebrate at Dave and Buster's. So like making that connection, finding out kind of like what motivates someone, is super satisfying. To break that barrier.
Some nuts are tougher to crack than others, right? In terms of getting people to buy in and getting people to adhere to the program. But yeah, it can definitely be rewarding to, crack one of those tougher nuts.
Yeah, dude. So on the flip side, and we don't have to name names, but have you ever had to fire a client? Like, have you ever just had a crazy experience? Like, what does that look like for you? Because it's good advice. It's hard to do, especially for younger trainers. Even for me, like
a bad experience with the client or a client who's really good. What do you mean?
Like where it's a bad experience, like, hey man, like this just isn't going to work out.
Yeah. I definitely have. I've had like, I think I've been pretty lucky with the clients I've had. I have like, like a lot of really good clients. I've also had the privilege of kind of being able to turn down certain clients or let go of certain clients. Which is not a privilege I've had for my entire career. It's more recent. But it's really good to kind of be able to select your clients as well, because not everyone works well together, right? Like I might be a good trainer, but I might have a client who I would not be a good trainer for.
Right.
Depending on, their personality and their goals, right? But one one particular experience that always comes to mind, and it's more so a overstep of like professional boundaries. And I'm sure this particular individual had reasons for wanting to do that. But it was a hybrid training client. So I would do some online stuff, some in-person stuff with them. And they would just kind of overstep lines in terms of like immediately, as soon as I took them on, they'd think that I'm their best friend and that they tell me absolutely everything, and that they, you know, basically just ask for like personal favors that aren't related. It's like I'm a personal trainer, but they're treating me as like,
right,
friend, or like they're like, not like, I understand like telling your problems to any kind of one-on-one person you're working with.
right.
But it was deeper than that. It was like, this is way too much information. Yeah. And it was just, big overstep.
Yeah. The trauma dumpers, that's where my story was going to go. It's like,
yeah.
Holy shit, we need to go to therapy for this one. Like this one not for me. But like God bless and best of luck. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. We'll wrap her up here soon.
Sounds
one
good.
or two more here. Like, what's a personal goal that you have with your own workouts, your own fitness, your own training?
Mm-hmm. So I think I like to try a lot of different things and just learn as much as I can and experience as many different things as possible. So I kind of go through different training blocks where I might have a big goal for half a year might be strength. Then another big goal for half a year might be my cardiovascular fitness. So right now I'm kind of in a more athletic kind of type of training than I have been in the past. I've done kind of blocks of hypertrophy, blocks of strength. Right now, I'm in a an athleticism kind
Nice.
of focused training block. So I only do resistance training. Well, I do a little bit of resistance training every day, kind of by accident. It's like, oh, might as well do a couple sets of curls. I'm already in the gym anyways.
Right.
But like, I only do 2 or 3 heavy lifting sessions a week, whereas I used to do like, upwards of 6 if I was doing like mini sessions AM and PM.
Mhm.
Obviously not an hour each if I was doing 2 a day, but like a 45-minute morning, 45-minute evening session. Like I used to do
Mhm.
6 minimum a week.
The boy
So a lot
was
less,
on the grind.
yeah, a lot less lifting and a lot more cardio and
Yeah,
athletic
yeah.
training. Yeah. What about you?
Nice, man. Yeah, dude. I'm really interested in doing a bodybuilding show, like a natural show that's here in Indianapolis in November. So, got
Nice.
everything planned and structured out. W and, like, I think it'll be really fun to see how my physique has progressed over it'll be, like, 2 years since I was, like, lean.
Mhm, mhm,
So, my biggest thing was then, like, when I was lean last time, I was like, "Man, like,
mhm,
I look pretty good, but I definitely need to put on some weight and some size, especially my legs. Just got these long ass legs. I've been working hard on the legs as much as I can. And
mhm.
overall, I just seen some physique improvements. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And also kind of like just daunting to like take on posing and all that shit. Like it's not something that I particularly love, but like I'm like, hey, like you, like if you're gonna coach people for this and you really have an interest in it, going through it,
Yep,
that's what's gonna make you a better coach. So yeah,
exactly.
that's the big thing for me, man.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good luck. Good luck in November, you said?
Yeah, yeah, that's the
Excellent.
show I'm gunning for. I might do another one or two. We'll see.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, man. Well, any parting advice, whether it's quick training, quick personal training thing before we head out of here?
Um, I guess this could go for coaches or individuals who are training, and this could be any kind of training. Uh, Try to keep an open mind.
Mhm.
And try to not try to look into things. Try not to take something that you heard and just automatically assume it's true.
Yeah.
Try to look into things a little bit because there's a lot of resources out there. With the internet and everything now, you can learn a lot. There's a lot of
Mhm.
bad information, but there's also a lot of good information, and there's definitely ways to parse through it all. So, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I love it. I love it. Yeah, man. Well, let's see. Definitely wanna be respectful of your time. Get on with our days here. I know you probably got some shit to do, but first and foremost, I just got to say thanks for hopping on, man. It was a great discussion,
Thanks for
and I
having
hope
me.
yeah, bro, of course. I hope everybody can go ahead and follow Ben, right here, my banner. I worked hard on it. So go ahead,
Good
check him
banner.
out on Instagram. That's the right handle, right? I got that. I got
Yep,
everything correct.
you got it.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome, man. And before we go, do you have anything you want to promote? Anything you want to draw people's attention to or plug? Let me know.
Maybe I'm doing more online training now, and I have
Nice.
some slots open for that. I do face to face. I call it asynchronous and synchronous training. So I do face to face, like a Zoom call, mainly for clients with a home gym, but also
Mhm.
people with limited equipment, like maybe only a couple dumbbells,
Mhm.
uh, and it would be a lot more body weight stuff too.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I also do asynchronous, which is just I send off a program, and I think you can sign up for that. Actually, you could just shoot me a DM. That's the best way to
Yeah.
reach me. Yeah.
Nice. So everybody, shoot Ben a DM. Let him know you like the podcast and you're interested in synchronous or asynchronous training. But yeah, man, definitely. Once again, I appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody for sticking through and listening to the end. It means a lot. I feel like this was a banger of a podcast, man. We hit a good amount of like good value and a good amount of like good fun as well too. So
Yeah.
that's what I always like. But I'll do my little sign off unless you have anything else that comes to mind, man.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, everybody, go ahead if you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. I always forget ring the bell, but like ring the bell too if you want to see my face annoying your notifications up and down. And definitely drop any questions below. The comment section. I'll be passing those comments along to Ben if anything comes up on his takes, or hit him in the DMs. Hit me in the DMs or in the comments. We'll be sure to get a good conversation going here. But if you're listening on Spotify, I always appreciate those reviews, as well as Apple Podcasts or wherever else this podcast is taken to. I don't even know at this point. But yeah, man, appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for listening. And we will catch you in the next one. See ya. And I got to push. And there we go. My mouse